Okay. Hello, everyone. Um, Amy and Judy here to talk about a very important topic, which is boundaries. You hear us say it, I'm sure you hear that word. Boundaries means a little bit different, is a little bit different to everybody. And everybody's boundary scale is, some people have really great
Yeah.
boundaries, and some people, to be quite honest, are terrible, or they're good at boundaries in certain relationships, but then others they fall short. The bottom line is we don't have a caregiver working for us that means harm by any means. So
Oh, no.
that is the really delicate situation about boundaries. And
Mhm.
we want to really dig into it and visiting angels policy behind it and talk about boundaries and then show you some examples of boundaries. And I'm guessing that many people are going to be able to relate to this. We would love
Yep.
questions. We're here to support you. Our job is so hard because you are a professional. You have to keep a business relationship, but you're doing the most intimate type of, you're in somebody's home in their private space. Of course, you want to develop a deeper relationship, and our clients want that deeper relationship. So, how do you do it? How do you stay professional and keep good boundaries and be the best caregiver that you can be? So we hope that we can shed some light. And Judy's going to start
Mhm.
by giving us the definition of boundaries.
And it's boundaries. It's kind of, we could talk about boundaries. They have classes on boundaries in college. All right. We're going to sum it up. But to start out with, the boundary is mutually respectful, trusting, safe, secure, professional relationship. Keyword here, professional. And I know home care is a little more casual. However, this should not let the boundaries be more relaxed or loose.
Mhm.
You're still a professional in the home.
Yep.
And some of the types of boundaries that we're going to touch on is time boundaries, physical boundaries, money boundaries, language, and personal information boundaries.
Okay, so just to say that again, that's time, physical,
Physical, money,
money,
language,
language.
and personal information.
Okay, perfect. So that's what we're going to touch on a little bit. We have some fun videos to watch. They're, of course, a little dated, a little cheesy, but it does get you to the point. So let's watch the
Yep,
first
yep,
scenario. Okay.
yep.
Um, Okay, here we go. And
Welcome to the Aging and Disability Resource Center. Thank you for being a part of our diverse team serving those who are elderly or who have disabilities. You provide vital services that allow these consumers to continue living in their own homes. One of the keys of professional caregiving is maintaining boundaries. This presentation will help you set and maintain boundaries in the workplace. Boundaries are mutually understood, unspoken, physical and emotional limits of a relationship between clients and workers. Boundaries ensure that the focus of the relationship remains on the client's needs.
I just have to say that one again. The
Yep.
purpose for every single client job you do for Visiting Angels is 100% on the client's needs. So
That's
they
right.
should not be pulled in to anything personal going on in your life, whether it be school, exams coming up, if you are having trouble with your child or your husband or your significant other, that is not brought into any conversation. It is never brought into their home because you are taking the focus off the client and now they are caring for you. Absolutely not
That's
okay.
right.
This means that you are a hired professional in a client's home who is there to perform specific duties. You are responsible for knowing what is appropriate and inappropriate. Ensure a therapeutic relationship with clients rather than a social one. Avoid legal trouble. Avoid emotional entanglements for caregivers. Ensure that caregivers treat all clients fairly. Make sure caregivers are seen as professionals. Let's take a look at Heather and Ethel to get a better idea of what we're talking about. Heather is an in-home worker providing care for Ethel, her longtime client. Ethel no longer drives due to macular degeneration and often cares for her grandchildren after school.
Hi Ethel, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. I'm really glad the weather is warmer. Could you maybe pick up my grandchildren after school? They're getting out in about half an hour, and then pick up a few things at the grocery store? And maybe tonight you could go to my grandson's concert with me? At 7 o'clock, I think it is.
Oh, that should be okay. I was only planning on being here for an hour or so, but I can shift some of my other clients around. You're my favorite, Ethel.
Do you think that Heather handled this professionally? What kinds of risks is she taking on?
We can talk about that one just a little bit. I mean, oh my gosh, it's so cute.
And you can tell this is made up, but they got their point across.
They definitely did get their point across. I mean, how simple can you know, I mean, she's out running errands and grocery shopping anyway. Can you just pick up the grandkids?
Yeah, yeah.
The grandkids are not our clients. So, you know, the first big red flag here is you would never, ever do that. We wouldn't pick up somebody that is not our client and put them in the car with our caregiver, especially children. But, you know, really it's nobody. I mean, occasionally we have had a situation where we take the wife to a doctor's appointment and the husband or the daughter goes along. You would have to check with the visiting angel's office to make sure that's okay before you put anybody that is not a client in your vehicle. The second big thing here is, you know, she talks about shifting around her other clients, or, oh, you know what, I'm sure I could do that. I know that this has happened in our field where, you know, they've come back and gone to a birthday party. A, they're off the clock. B, you're not getting paid for that. C, it is against every visiting angel's policy that, you know, you could imagine. We've had caregivers who were out grocery shopping and they picked up some things for their client and dropped it off on their way home from another client. That's not their scheduled time. We can't do that. That is a huge boundary. Everything that happens with you and your client has to happen during the scheduled visit time. If they want something outside of the hours, you cannot say as a caregiver, well, I'm doing that on my personal time. You can't do that. Anything that you do with a client through visiting angels has to be approved by the office and the client. I don't know about Ethel's situation. She may be a memory client. She might not be allowed to just add visit hours. You could get charged with financial exploitation because you're adding hours without going through the proper channels. And if you say, hey, it's my personal time, I get to do what I want on my personal time. Not with our clients, you don't. So they are not your friend. And that is a hard reality. I don't know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but absolutely any client that you meet through visiting angels is not a friend that you can meet outside of the working relationship.
That's right.
And that's a
And
hard
think of
one.
what it does while she changes her schedule. Just think of these other people who now were expecting that help today, and it's not there anymore.
Right. Right. So, well,
So it's
listen,
really inconvenient for a lot of people.
yeah. So let's just listen to this.
On. Does it sound like she is treating all her clients fairly? Let's listen in to see another way that Heather could have handled Ethel's request.
I'm really sorry, Ethel, but I'm here to care for you. Maybe you could try calling the school and have the bus dropping the kids off here? I'm pretty busy later, so I won't have time to take you to the concert, but I will have enough time to go to the store for you.
Oh, good. Here's the grocery list. My daughter was gonna take me to the concert anyway. And that idea to have the kids dropped off here, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Thank you.
Heather established clearly what her role was and what she could and could not do. She let her client know that she values and treats all her clients fairly. Ethel knows that she can count on Heather to complete the tasks that she was hired for. Heather avoided upsetting Ethel's family, who had arranged to take her to the concert. Let's take a look at another boundary challenge. Heather has been helping Judy for a little over a year. Judy is a person with diabetes and painful arthritis, which makes her daily activities difficult.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Judy.
Sit down here.
How you doing today?
Okay, but not great. I'm so stiff today and my blood sugar level was through the roof. I just can't seem to keep that number down.
You know, I was talking to Jane Smith last week, and she seems to be having the same problem. She said that red grapes make her blood sugars go through the roof. And I was also looking on the internet, and they say too much of any fruit makes your blood sugar go higher. Maybe you could try eating something else for a snack? It worked for her.
Who's Jane Smith?
Oh, just one of my other clients. She lives over on University.
Oh, I know Jane. She used to go to my church. Well, I guess if she tried it and you read about it on the computer, that it's worth a shot.
Did Heather compromise confidentiality in this discussion? What about the medical and nutritional counseling that she provided? Do you think that was appropriate? Listen to another way Heather could have responded to her client.
I'm really sorry to hear about your blood sugars. Have you tried talking to your doctor? I also think that the Aging and Disability Resource Center has a dietitian that could maybe come and do a home visit. Do you want to try giving them a call?
Oh, that sounds good. I'll make those calls and see what they say.
So I think this is a good one too. I always talk about Rochester being the big small town. A lot of our clients being of the same age group, and Mayo is such a big, huge part of the Rochester community. A lot of these people worked together, or the wives know each other from, different careers through the Mayo. And, it is so hard not to say names, but we absolutely cannot use another client's name in the home, even if they don't know who it is. You are still, it's a huge HIPAA violation, which is very, very serious. But besides that, it's just using other clients' names. I know that we've had caregivers who have called from one client's home. Maybe they're taking a nap and they want to talk about another client that they care for. That's not okay. You would want to use ERSP Messenger to send us a message. You can send us a quick text that says, I work 12 to 8 tonight. I need somebody to call me about my client such and such. We can provide that confidentiality. But I also like to tell a story about, there was a client that we had. It was a couple, and they had this dog that was it's kind of a notorious dog that had this really odd name. And the caregiver just simply said, I can't wait to see Lollipop. I'm going there next. and the client knew who they were talking about. They're like, oh,
Oh,
so, it's best not to mention other clients at all. But then, Judy, do you want to talk about the dietitian? I mean, that seemed like, even if she didn't use a client's
yeah,
name, it said, hey, my sister had that problem and she tried this. Um, how dangerous that is.
yeah. Keep in mind that you are not licensed. You are not a licensed dietitian. You do not know her history with her diabetes, what she takes, just just everything, right? So, yeah, don't go there. Just avoid. Even saying something like, well, you can try calling so and so, or you can say, well, let me call, if you like, let me call the nurse in the office and see if they have any ideas.
Yep. It would be best that the nurse gave her the
Yep,
resources
yep,
versus you. So
yep.
she does,
And diabetic people, and it has advanced like in leaps and bounds over the last 2 decades, and it's
mhm.
constantly changing. That it's become its own specific subspecialty. So, don't even go there with them, and just refer and say, if you want, call your doctor. I can call the nurse if you like information. Just, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you don't
It's,
go there with anything. Even if you yourself suffer from diabetes and think that you know some great thing that your doctor told you, you absolutely are not, it's not okay to share that. Again, if you're talking to your friend outside of the working relationship, that's different. This, although you've been taking care of them for a year, 2 years, you see them as a friend, again, they are not your friend. This is a professional relationship. So you cannot share what your knowledge is, even if you are an RN yourself.
oh, yeah.
If you
Yeah.
yourself are an RN or you're going to school to be a medical doctor and you think, that you have that knowledge, why not share it? Absolutely not. Our license, you are not on our license to share that information. So sorry.
If you're an if you're an LPN, if you're a dietitian, if you're a physician's assistant, if you're a lab technician, it doesn't matter. When you're working for Visiting Angels, you are a caregiver.
Yep.
You have to stay in that role.
Yep.
Yes, you've got a lot of life experience and professionalism behind you. You're going to ruin it for all of those who follow you. Stay in the role of a trained visiting angel.
Yep. And if you do have information to share that you think would be helpful, share it with Judy, share it with our nursing staff,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
can filter through that and decide if that's something that they would want to talk to the client's doctor or physician about. So let's watch and see how she sums this one up.
Heather validated Judy's concern and directed her to consult a professional. She avoided dispensing medical and nutritional advice, which she is not qualified to give. In the next scenario, Frank is widowed and lives alone. He is cared for part-time by Heather. It is nearly the holiday season, and Frank wants to give Heather a very special Christmas gift.
Come in.
Hi, Frank. You all ready for the holidays?
Yes, and how about you?
Oh, I still have a lot of things to do. What's on the agenda for today?
Well, I'd like to go grocery shopping, but first, I have something for you.
Oh, what is it?
It's a diamond bracelet. It belongs to my wife, but I would like you to have it for the nice things you do for me.
Oh, Frank, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. I will really treasure this.
What are some consequences of Heather accepting this gift?
Yeah.
Do you think that Frank might expect some extra services as a result? What about Frank's family? Would they be upset not to be given this antique bracelet? What if Heather decides to resign her job with Frank at some point? Could Frank accuse Heather of taking the bracelet? Now let's give Heather another chance.
This bracelet belongs to my wife, and I'd like you to have it.
Oh, Frank, it's beautiful. But I think your daughter would appreciate this much more than me. I just wouldn't feel right accepting a gift like this from you. I hope you understand.
You're probably right, and my daughter would be mad if she found out I gave it to you. But I do appreciate what you do for me. Thank you very much.
Now Heather can continue to provide care for Frank without feeling that she owes him something. She can be
That's right.
Yeah, this one, and, and, and I like that they used it at Christmas. So just to give you a little bit of Visiting Angels policy, first of all, any gift received from a client to a caregiver has to be reported to the office. Period. End of discussion. So that means a Christmas card with $5 in it. We instruct our clients. Some are really good about it. The clients' families say we would like to give our caregivers something. And the ideal situation is we have them drop it off at the office and then we distribute it to the caregiver as appropriate. When it happens in the home and it's just the client giving you something, we've had many situations of clients wanting to give caregivers. We had one client who constantly gave away her cosmetic jewelry. She had dementia, she had memory loss, and our caregivers got really good about taking whatever it was they gave it and putting it in this box on top of the refrigerator, and then they would report it. They said, Doug tried to give me his diamond, his wife's diamond ring again. It's on top of the refrigerator. And then we would report those things to the family so that they knew. It is so important that the family is hearing this information from us. It establishes trust. It establishes trust from the family to Visiting Angels and us at the office. When you guys report things like that, it establishes trust with us having you in the client's home. Right. It is an honor to be working for Visiting Angels. It truly is. We set ourselves at a very high standard. If you ever receive a gift from a client, there's a couple of things you can do. We've had things like an old Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain book set where the client wanted to give the Mark Twain books to the caregiver. And the caregiver said, well, let me check with the office and see if that's something I could take. And then we check with the family. Now, if the client hand knitted you a pot holder, you could take that with you, but I would let us know. Just send us a quick message, send us a text, send us an ERSP. You never take cash from a client, ever. No personal checks. You would not ask your clients if they want to buy things from your child's fundraiser. If you have a second business, like maybe you sell essential oils, you do not sell those to our client under any circumstances. No. You would not sell it to their family. They are not, our clients that you work with in Visiting Angels are not your customers.
That's right. And you're not to use them. It's like a misuse of our policy and Visiting Angels and our kindness. You're not looking for business opportunities. Nope. You're there to focus your care on that person.
That and their needs. Money is a tricky one. If you never take cash from a client, period. So if you were at the grocery store and you had their card and you went to use it and you got everything but the milk, you would not be allowed to, you can pay for it, but then that receipt needs to be turned into Visiting Angels and we will reimburse you on your check. You cannot go back to Mrs. Smith and say, I got everything, but the milk didn't go on there and it was $5.45. Can I have $5.45? No, you cannot take cash from the client. They cannot write you a personal check. So I hope that one with gifts is very understandable. The only other one that I can think of that runs into, and we talk about this in orientation, and some of you have worked here for years and years, so you might have forgotten, but lunch, dinner. Some of our clients on their little errand, they like to stop at Wendy's and get a Frosty. And is that okay that they want to buy you? And you know how the whole thing goes, it's like, no, I insist. And if that were to happen to you and you were in a situation where you were at a restaurant and they wanted to pay for your meal, We always say first you decline, but we do have high expectations that our caregivers are going to be able to balance not upsetting the client. Most of our clients, eating is very important, and getting them to eat is important. So if it's a situation where they're not going to eat if you don't eat something, order something small. The biggest thing to remember, tell us I was at Wendy's today and Mrs. Smith insistent on buying my meal. Tell us every single time, because what's going to happen is we're going to forward that information onto the family. And one of two things happen. The family either says, that's fine, we are okay with that because mom loves Wendy's and it's only once a week. And if she wants to pay for, Carrie's meal, that's fine. Or they're going to say, oh boy, we can't have mom doing that. That's a financial problem for us, or we don't want mom eating at Wendy's every time caregiver Carrie comes. So let's change the times of the visit, or we'll talk to mom, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. It is so much better. The family trusts us when we tell them that. Versus, let's say we've been taking care of Mrs. Smith since April. They come home for Christmas and are balancing mom's bills, and they see that she spent X amount of dollars when caregiver Carrie is there. They will flip a lid, and you are at risk of financial exploitation. They are a vulnerable adult. And because you didn't tell us, that looks really bad, and it makes your intentions look bad.
Yep. So, be careful, because, not maintaining those boundaries, it leads to a slippery slope. It's hard to say no. It's hard to set those boundaries. You don't have to say the word no, but you can get around it. Like, oh, Frank, this was such a nice gesture. This is such a valuable family heirloom. I think your daughter would enjoy it more than I would. I mean, that was perfect.
Right. Yeah, that was perfect. Sorry. Yeah, that was definitely important. Okay. When we talk about the gifts too, the other thing is, I always share this. Some of you have heard this story before, but we had a long time ago a hoarding situation. And when the client's wife passed, he just could not throw anything away, including newspapers and cans. And the relationship with the daughters who lived in town what was very strained. And what happened was, the caregiver who had been this guy's caregiver for a year, sorry, hold on one second. I am so sorry. I'm trying to multitask here. She felt so wonderful that she was able to get this gentleman to give away a whole trash bag full of old toys from when his children were young. And so the caregiver threw the bag in her car, left, blah, 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 blah. Just so happens that the daughter found out about it, and they were her toys from her childhood, and she was livid. Well, we got a hold of the caregiver, and she said, yeah, I was going to take it to Goodwill. It's still in the back of my car. And we actually had to fire that caregiver because she took that stuff out of the client's home without telling us. We were able to get some of it back, I think. I can't remember exactly how that went, but we did have to terminate employment with that caregiver. So that's another example. Don't take things out of the home. You can always help sort and put things in, piles, and then you can send us a message and let us know that there's a whole trash bag full of stuff that Betty got rid of. If the family wants me to take it to Goodwill, or if they want to look through it, this is where it's at. Again, that's professional versus personal. It is not your job to make those decisions for clients.
And we've actually had families say, yeah, we know mom is sorting through a lot of boxes, and she says, take this stuff to Goodwill. The family will say, we want a chance to go through this stuff before mom gives it away.
Right.
Fair enough. You know, so don't help them sort, that's fine. Don't take it out without telling just don't take it out. And let us know, and we'll let the family know.
Yep. All right, let's see what happens next.
She did not take advantage of Frank's vulnerability. Here is one last scenario. Heather is back at Ethel's house today. Last night, Heather's husband announced that he is divorcing her after 10 years of marriage.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. It was a pretty nice holiday. I saw some of the kids. Yeah, it was nice. How are you doing?
I'm terrible. My husband's leaving me after 10 years together. I don't know how I'm going to work and take care of the kids and everything else. I'm going to have to find my own place, buy furniture, pots and pans. What a mess.
If he's leaving, how come you have to find furniture? But never mind, honey. It's none of my business. I have a whole basement full of older furniture, but it's in pretty good shape. You could go down there and pick out what you could use. And the next time you come, I will have gift cards that people gave me for Christmas. And you could take those to use for you and the children.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I don't know what I would do without you, Ethel. Thank you.
Do you think it is appropriate that Heather shared her own personal information or problems with Ethel? How do you think Ethel's family would feel about her giving away her furniture and gift cards to a worker? Should Ethel have to worry about her employee? Let's see how things might have gone if she chose not to share this information.
Yeah, how was your weekend, Heather?
Oh, it was just fine. How about yours?
Nice. Yeah, I saw some of the kids and yeah, not bad.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, I better get started on this cleaning.
Yeah, I think the living room needs a thorough vacuuming, and I think we should work together on the closet. I never keep a closet perfectly organized.
By Heather keeping her personal life separate from her work life, she is able to remain professional and doesn't appear vulnerable.
Yeah, so those are that is a huge one. Oh my gosh.
Yep,
And
yep.
that happens
Yep.
so naturally. If I were to pick one boundary that we at Visiting Angels see and struggle with the most, it's caregivers sharing too much information about their personal life. That is such an issue, and we talk about this because it's really easy for us to sit here and preach at you guys about sharing too much information, and then it feels like, yeah, well, you come work in here. I've been working for this client for 2 years. She loves me and I love her, and we sound so preachy and so cut and dry, like you just don't do it. It takes practice, but it is true. You should not be sharing anything too deep. And I'll let Judy talk about this in a minute, but this one is one I'm so passionate about. Our clients are vulnerable adults, even more so than if you were going into and being a housekeeper for someone, if your job was housekeeping. And I had a housekeeper who I knew a ton about. This is not that. This is a vulnerable adult. They cannot be taking care of you. So they should know that you're going through a divorce. They shouldn't know that you had a really bad day. They should not know that your stomach was hurting this morning, or that you're going to have surgery, or that you were recently diagnosed with something. That is not to share with our clients or their family. I'm sorry, but it's not. the fact that you're having trouble with one of your children, that your children is really sick, if you're in financial need, and you're just sharing it because you want to get it off your chest. If you need someone to talk to and you have no one, you can come to us at the office and we can listen to that for you. But your clients can know that you have 3 kids, that you have 3 kids and they're doing great. But then it should be redirected to them, period.
Yep. Yep.
I'd say at least once a week, I have a client who calls and casually mentions something, either in an upset frenzy or just casually mentions, I'm worried about my caregiver because she's got that car and she can't afford to get an oil change, and I just don't know if it would be safe to ask her to come, or she's just got too much going on. I don't think it's okay for her to come. They should not know anything too personal about you. They can know you go to school, but they shouldn't know that you have worries about how you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like to tell people public information, like this is your name, that's public information. You're a United States citizen, public information. You're from another country. Well, they can probably hear the accent. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Where you were born.
Yeah, that's public general information. But they don't need to know, well, why did you immigrate to America? Or, well, why are you on your 5th marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Or
you don't need to know that it's 5th marriage.
That's focusing the care on you. That's manipulative. Don't bring it to you. Keep it on them.
Yep.
And if you need to, you can talk about general. The weather's always a good one. And say, you can say something like, I remember my first day of school. Do you remember your first day of school?
Yep. Super.
I'm talking about school days and memories that they might have.
Yep.
There's oodles of stuff, and a good idea I heard a while ago was to actually write down these stories for the family, because they may not have heard some of these stories. Maybe they have, but maybe they haven't.
Yep.
There was I worked once with a 110-year-old. I'll never forget this. I won't share her name, but she was a delightful lady. And she remembered what her mother told her 100 years ago, but not what she had for breakfast. And her mother always called her Roost Tooth Copper Tooth. And the family never knew that. Yep. So, we had written that down, and the family was delighted with that. Right. And we actually sat down one day and figured out how many meals she had had in her lifetime. Right. Just fun stuff, and it's focusing on them. It's not about you.
Like the other thing in the times of COVID have really brought this one to light. They should not know what you did this weekend. You can keep it light. Like Judy said, instead of saying I got together with my grandkids that I haven't seen in 6 months, you can just said I had a wonderful weekend. How about you? Period. Now turn it around. I had a wonderful weekend. You know what? It was okay. I sure am looking forward to warmer weather. I did a lot of outside work, but you should not tell them that you got on a plane and went to Texas. It worries them, especially, like I said, now with COVID, we are really seeing it where they're getting this information out of our caregivers and they are calling the office. I'm worried about such and such. She's going to be around her grandkids. Blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't be sharing that. You shouldn't be sharing time off that you're ready to have. I'll be taking time off. That worries them because they automatically get worried. Well, if you're not going to be here, who's coming? And then they call us and, heck, if we know yet, we're still trying to figure it out, but they are stuck on that point that you told them. Can't tell them that. So again, it's the difference between being professional and personal. Now, you do get stuck in some situations where it's like they say, now, are you coming? Will I see you next week? Right? And then the caregiver gets stuck because they don't want to lie, right?
Mhm.
And they know that they're not going to be here next week, but the client has specifically asked them. And, you know, some ways that you can get around that is just saying, you know, have you gotten your schedule for next week yet? Yours, it comes out on Friday, doesn't it? Yeah, they'll send it an email like they always do, or you can call the office and ask them. So there's ways around that too, where, you know, um, you got to keep it professional. And it's really hard. Boundaries are hard and it takes practice and you're going to mess up. And that's okay. But if you keep practicing boundaries, and here's another tip for you. You guys get your schedule on Monday for the next week. So what happens is then after we post that just for you guys to see, then there's all little bit things that we have to change and fix around. And the caregiver says, hey, remember I asked for this day off, or oops, I forgot, I have a doctor's appointment. And we frantically work to fix that and make it look as good as we can. But we don't send that out or even publish it to our clients until that Friday. So on Friday, they get their schedule for the next week. So some of our clients are a little bit manipulative and they know this, but they try to get it out of our caregivers because they know that the caregivers get it before they do. But all I can say is keep reiterating, you know, the schedule will come out on Friday. One day they might say, well, don't you already know? And say, you know what, it's still in the workings. The finalized version comes out on Friday. So, you know, call the office, you know, that kind of thing.
Yep, yep, yep.
They're good.
And then I'd like to kind of add to that too is avoid nicknames. Like if I were to call Amy Honey,
Yep.
that it's an endearing term.
Yep.
Well, that's crossing a boundary really. To keep it professional, I always call her Amy.
Yep. And you should do that too. Or if the client does have a nickname that they go by, it's listed in the on their name on your schedule. It'll be in quotes. Like we have a client whose name's Gilbert, but he goes by Smokey. So
Yeah.
If it's listed on your schedule as Smokey, then you can call him Smokey, but you wouldn't call him Smokes or Dude or, you know, Muscle Man or Sweetie, Honey.
Yeah.
Yep, you got to stay away from that. You got to stay away from all of those nicknames. So, yeah, so that's language. We talked a lot about money and gifts, and we talked about time. You know, again, reiterating that we cannot visit with our clients on our personal time. Now, there are certain exceptions. Sometimes a client goes to the hospital and then they're going to a long-term facility and there's some closure that's needed as a caregiver. They worked with them for a year and that's it. They're not going to see them again because you are not permitted to go visit them on a weekly basis at their new home. So if that's needed, that one-time visit, you always call the office and we can permit a one-time off the schedule visit for that. Funerals,
funerals.
Yep, we absolutely do allow caregivers to go to a funeral. You would want to contact us and let us know that you're planning to attend. We try to get that information out to you when the family shares it with us. Sending emails with the family, not okay. Sharing your cell phone, huge boundary issue. It is not okay for any reason. I'm going to say it again. It needs to be on the test. Clients cannot have your personal information, period.
Yeah.
Some caregivers, when the client passes away, they want to still communicate with the spouse or the daughter. You cannot. It is against our policy, and it is a terminable offense. It is that serious of a, it is like a huge boundary issue. if the client or the family want to get a hold of you, they go through us and we will get a hold of you for them. We will communicate whatever it is that they need on off hours times, but you cannot share your personal cell phone. Well, what if you're at the grocery store and they just want to text you what they need? They text us and we'll text you. Well, what about if they're at the doctor's office and they need to call me because I have to go pick them up when they're ready? They call us, we call you. Period. End of discussion. There are so many violations with this out there right now. Cannot give your personal information. Can't. Can't make a visit to the house on your off time. Whether you've worked with this client for 5 years or 1 day, you never give your personal information out. You don't call the family from your personal cell. So the family has questions and they want you to call when you get to the house to tell them how, the client is doing. They say, so just when you get to the house, give me a call. And you're calling from your cell phone. Can't do it. If they don't have a phone, a landline or a cell phone that's there for you to call that family, then the best that we can do is you can call us and tell us, and we will contact the family and give them the information that they're looking for.
Yep.
So that
and
one,
there have been some occasions where families have contacted us and they've said, well, we want to send a thank you to so-and-so. What is their address?
Yep.
We have them send it here to this address, mailing address, and then we will make sure that you get that information or that thank you note.
Yep, we do. And the same goes for you. If you've been working with a client and then they pass away and you have their address because you've been there 100 times, it has to come to the office and then the office will send it off. That's just the way it is. So we talked about time and sticking to your scheduled times. We talked about money and gifts, and we talked about the language, your personal information, including your cell phone, contact, email, sharing too much about yourself. You are creating an unprofessional work environment when you start talking about yourself and your personal needs. That's caring for you, not the client. And then the last one we have on this list, Judy, is physical. Do you want to talk about physical a little? Yeah.
That's a tough one because we're working with some dementia and you're doing intimate care like with showers or bathing or end of life things. It's very personal. Yep. Again, keep it professional. Limit your exposure. And some clients, especially men, have sexual
touch
innuendos,
and sexuality.
Yep. And it gets confusing, but just keep in mind that that's the disease, it's not them.
Right.
Let us know and we can work with the family and the medical team, and then they can sometimes we can reduce those symptoms with medications, but just let us know that symptom is happening. Yep. But and yes, it can be offensive, but just don't get involved with anyone that might be your age in the home or
older.
Or older.
Some people are huggers by nature. I mean,
some people are huggers.
I have an Italian side of the family and they're kissy and everybody kisses everybody on the lips and it's just calm, and then I'm a real not touchy-feely person. So that's pretty natural. If you're a hugger and your client, wants to hug you and you're comfortable with that, we're okay with a hug, but don't reach out and hug somebody. They might not want a hug. So
they might.
On the reverse side, you say, you know what, can I give you a hug before I leave? That would be okay. You're asking permission.
You're asking permission.
But other than that, maybe a client, is kind of, you're getting that feeling, they're reaching in for a hug. You're not a hugger. You don't want a hug. You say, hey, let's elbow, or how about a high five? Or how about a hand squeeze? I'm going to do a hand hug today because, that's just what I'm comfortable with, and that's okay. Um,
Mhm.
and then just asking permission too. I mean, sometimes we as caregivers cross that physical boundary with that, you know. um, I would not like it if someone came up behind me and started massaging my shoulders. That would make me very
Yeah.
uncomfortable. um, so we do a training. Yep.
Front.
Yep. So, ask permission to, can I give your feet a massage? Could I give you a hand massage? Would you like me to rub your shoulders? Those types of things. And then, like Judy said, if you are ever in a situation where you're feeling uncomfortable and some lines have been crossed from the client to you, absolutely get us involved, because, like Judy said, we can help with that. And
We can help.
maybe it's not, to the bad, what you're dealing with is not something that we have to get medication involved in. Maybe it's just not a great fit. Maybe you are a very closed person and it just makes you uncomfortable. And so we can work to maybe switch clients. It takes a little bit of time. That doesn't happen like that, but absolutely we want good fits. So if there is a boundary issue, and we have helped caregivers with boundary issues, like they've come to us and said, I've crossed a boundary here. I'm getting way too attached. I can feel myself, crossing that line. Help me.
Yep.
We do. We can figure it out together. That happens. It's okay. Come to us if you feel the line and boundaries can go from light gray to black, like that. Like
Yep.
that line can be crossed so quickly that you blink and you didn't even know it happened, and now you feel yourself. You don't have to do that alone. We can help you. So I think that's it. I think we covered it all. Judy, what do you think?
Yep. Yeah, and I just, I kind of want to sum that up by saying that there are consequences to crossing the boundaries.
Yep.
Not only consequences for you, but for visiting angels, for the clients, their families, for us. There are consequences.
Yep.
And it can become a real slippery slope.
Yep.
At first, you might get by with it, but then,
it gets, yeah.
Yeah. And, we're finding that a little bit too, especially with medications now, that it's really easy to say, yeah, sure, I'll open the cover for you. You can open up a pickle jar, but you can't open up the Tylenol. That's a boundary. And so it's hard to say no.
Yep.
But boy,
and whenever you get that feeling in your stomach and you're like, oh, I remember her saying something about this. This doesn't feel right. You cannot call us too much to clarify something. So don't feel dumb. Don't feel stupid. Call us. That's what we're here for. We want Visiting Angels to be the most professional, the best home care with the kindest caregivers, which we have, dependable. We are here to help. So Judy's gonna.
I've had at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's okay. I might sound groggy, and I am, but we'll work with it.
Yep, we'll figure it out. So together. So thank you for all you do out there. I hope you caught something in here. I hope something jived or clicked or made sense. But give us a call to ask any questions you want. There is a quiz with this. And you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.